Right, I'll start again. So welcome everyone to the guest lecture part of these sessions. As you all know, the third years of you who've already had your 2 hours of lectures, this is supporting that. And then for the master's students, this is the first lecture for the week, and then you've got the 2 theory lectures afterwards. So thank you all for coming along. These are also recorded, so you can get them on the Moodle page afterwards. So I'd like to introduce you all to Russ Powell. Now, Russ Powell's a marketing heavyweight. He's been doing the job for over 14 years in B2B. Russ, is it 12 or 14? Was it all semantic at this time? You've been doing it so long.
It all merges into one, really.
It does, doesn't it? Day
More,
to day.
10 plus years is probably the best way to say
Way
it.
over. Yeah. So Russ has been doing it a long time, and he's been working for some huge companies that you've both known and some that you don't. But he's been in B2B for most of his working career. Go on to Sharper's B2B's website as well. They've got some amazing blogs. That's how I found him. There was a blog on there about communicating the value of marketing to the MD, and that's something that I'm really encouraging you all to do throughout this course, is how to actually show marketing's value. So I'm really excited to have Russ here, and thank you all. I'm handing over to Russ.
Oh, thank you very much for allowing me to do this, Kim. I just need to share screen, but you've disabled my screen sharing privileges.
Bear with me. Oh my gosh, so naughty. Bear with me. Allow participants to. Why is that not? There we go. So as ever, there is going to be the chat function. So if you have any questions for Russ, what we'll do is we'll ask them into the chat area, and then we'll answer them all afterwards. So feel free to put them in as you go, and then we'll go through them all at the end. So over to Russ.
Thank you very much indeed. So I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. It's one of the major questions you get asked nowadays. Everyone's working from home. Can you see my screen? Am I on mute? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've just got a few slides to talk to and talk through as we go. But Kim gave me a nice little intro there, but just to do that as well. So yeah, hi, I'm Russ. This is me in 3 ways. These are our Sharper B2B sort of team photos that we have. So yeah, I've racked up my 10,000 hours as a B2B marketer. As Kim says, I've worked for some big tech brands that you definitely will have heard of. So Microsoft, Dell, Symantec, and then some much smaller B2B brands that you definitely won't have heard of. So sort of small software asset management firms, small ERP implementation houses. But now I am the founder and MD of Sharper B2B. So yeah, living my dream, managing my own B2B marketing agency with the occasional nightmare thrown in there. This job would be so much easier if it didn't have to have clients. But in all of the 12, 13 years and hours of B2B marketing and all that jazz, I've sort of absolutely, unquestionably and incontrovertibly know 2 things about marketing based off all of that. So the first is that marketing is the driving force behind any successful business. And the second is that the client, the customer, the end user, the person needs to be at the heart of marketing. And that's really what's kind of led to what we're going to talk about today. So what we are talking about is strategy. So this that you can see on screen is a framework that we at Sharper B2B have built and use to build strategy, to talk about marketing, to talk about how to go to market and deliver effective activity. So we'll go through each of these as we step through the presentation. And as you may have guessed, the idea is that we operate at that quadruple intersection in the middle of this wonderful Venn diagram. What you will find talking to clients and looking at marketing is a lot of the time people operate at different intersections. They enter at one of the double intersections or triple intersections, but are missing a crucial part that helps them move towards that quadruple intersection. And actually, because we're talking about strategy, we don't need to even talk about methods in this in this session. So the strategy really, and how we define strategy, is how do you understand where you are right now? How do you understand where you want to get to? And then what are all the steps you need to take to get from where you are to where you want to get to? And this framework helps us do that. And we use it for marketing, we use it for everything else, and it's kind of applicable across any walk of life. So if you want to motivate your football team, if you want to get your girlfriend or boyfriend to tidy up, if you want to get your kids to bed, there's all kinds of things. Obviously you guys won't have many kids that you need to get to bed at the moment, but it's applicable and useful and usable in myriad situations. And the key thing is with this, talking to clients know all of this already. It's their business, it's part and parcel of what they do. They just haven't been asked the right questions or encouraged to think about things in the right way to effectively define these things and formulate them into an effective strategy. But when we're working with clients and defining strategy, there are a couple of things that we need to watch out for. I'm definitely showing my age with this first reference. I doubt any of you even know what a SNES is. But what we're talking about here is clients that want to leap before they look, clients that want to get ahead of themselves and do things in a shortcutted way. So based on that Venn diagram, we'll often see people will have some idea of the point of marketing and will want to jump straight to methods. So they'll be like, we need to deliver this amount of pipeline, let's run some email campaigns. We've just started an Instagram account, let's put everything through Instagram. And they miss out two massive and very important chunks of defining an effective strategy in doing so. So you've got to watch out for those clients that want to leap before they look. The second thing to watch out for is we call it bullshit bingo, but we've called it buzzword bingo on here just to soften it slightly for clients. And this is all those words, phrases and things that are all over the shop in B2B marketing, but mean very little to a person reading content or trying to receive a message. So nobody gives two hoots if your solution is a performant, new age, next gen solution that enhances innovation and is proprietary and all that absolute nonsense. So we actually use this as a slide that we've built, and we use it in sessions with clients, and we play buzzword bingo with them, so we can hone in on the stuff that sounds great but doesn't mean anything to people, and strip that out and bring them back to talking like people to other people. And the third thing to watch out for is dominant personalities. So we deal a lot with MDs, with CEOs who have the last say in their business. They are kind of the deal makers and the deal breakers. But because we are external to our clients, we can be objective. We don't have to be subjective. We don't have to worry about potentially losing our jobs if we upset the CEO. And it's about making sure that one person doesn't dominate the whole conversation, that you get a diverse range of thoughts from across the business, and also that opinions aren't facts. So lots of MDs and CEOs' opinions will be taken as read and taken as the gospel truth, but when they're asked to prove those opinions and actually back them up, it's often not able to do that. So it's making sure that you work around the personalities that you have to deal with. But getting into the framework, and we're going to start at 12 o'clock. We're going to start at the top, and we're going to be getting to the point. So the point of marketing, the point of building strategy for us breaks down into two interconnected areas, which is why this circle is graded half white, half grey. And the first point is really around purpose. It's a longer term thing. It's more focused on the brand, and it answers the why of the business existing beyond purely generating money. So it's what is the reason for this business to exist? What are the needs and challenges that you meet that help individuals, help customers, help people? And to get an idea of this, we ask people about the story of the business. We ask people about the inherent strengths of the business, and we also talk a lot about values. Now, I said that weird because it's key to differentiate between values and value, and we'll talk about both of those. We'll talk about value separately on a further slide, but it's about the values of the business, of the people. And really, you talk to people about what it's like to work at that business. Are you cutting edge and innovative? Are you more focused in one area than the other? How do you go about things? What's your approach? And it's not about what the business does, it's about why the business does what it does. And often we'd like to come at things at a slightly different angle. So one of the questions we ask, which often produces really great responses, is if your business was a person, how would you describe them? What would their personality be? What drink would they drink in the pub? What TV shows would they watch? How would they dress? And you get a much better idea of the personality of the business by personifying it. So the second half of the point is around justification. So this is shorter term focused, much more looking at metrics, and it's about proving marketing's worth. And it's really all about answering that question of, so what about marketing? It's like, so we want to run some marketing campaigns. So what? What's it going to deliver? Why should the business care? What's going to be the end result? So in the justification side of things, we're looking at the targets the business wants to hit largely in terms of revenue. We then look at average deal sizes. We look at average sales cycles. We look at average conversion rates, qualification criteria, and we get to a point where we begin to understand the value of a lead to the business and the worth of a lead to the business. So the value of a lead is what you pay for it. The worth of it is what it's worth to the business. So the idea is that you understand the worth and you end up paying less than the worth of the lead. So you therefore generate a better ROI. And really there, it's all about everyone understanding what good looks like for marketing. So it's having numbers and metrics you can tie everything back to. So if someone says, well, we did this, what happened? You can go, bang, this is what happened. These are the targets we needed to hit, and this is how we did it. So once you've defined the point, you've got your purpose, you've got your justification for marketing, you can then start to look at the second circle, which is the players or the people. And it's people that are so important, because it's B2B marketing, it's business to business, but we are still people marketing to people. We're talking to individuals about their needs, about their challenges, and how what clients we can do helps meet those needs and challenges. But what you will often find is you'll go to a client and you'll say, so who's your ideal customer? And they'll list off some sectors and they'll list off a type of organization. So they'll be like, well, our customers are organizations with more than 500 users in the financial services sector. Okay, that's not your target customer. That's the type of organization your target customer works for. Who are the individuals, the people that you need to engage with and get in front of? So what we do is help our clients build that ideal customer profile at an individual level. So we look at individual demographics, so who that person is in terms of age, location, salary, marital status, all that kind of stuff that tells you who a person is. We look at what we call ergographics, which is a fancy word that we made up, but is basically what the role of that person is. So their role as CFO of a financial services organization, what are the commonalities of that across CFOs in financial services organizations? So we look at demographics at the person, we look at ergographics in terms of the role, and we then look at what we call psychographics, which are the decision-making processes and the personality types of those people. So CFOs, for example, are financially literate. They will deal in exacts, they will want accuracy. They don't generally tend to engage with fluff or marketing nonsense. So it's taking all their demographic, ergographic and psychographic information, building that into an ideal customer profile that you can then use to build strategy around as well. And one of the key questions we always get, or we always ask as well, is we build an ideal customer profile and then we ask the client, so how many of your existing clients fit your ideal customer profile? And 99 times out of 100, they will go, our existing clients fit that profile exactly. But then when you read out one of their case studies that's on their website, or you look at who they worked with before, it quickly becomes clear that not everybody they work with fits their ideal customer profile. So it just helps to refocus them on where they need to be placing their bets and the type of people they need to be talking to. So key within this realm of the players. So obviously we've got customers are the most important players in that circle, but we also need to look at competitors as well. So there's kind of the ongoing debate, the Mark Ritson versus Byron Sharp thing around differentiation versus distinctiveness. From my side, in a B2B sense, it's much more about how you are distinct rather than how you are different. We deal with a lot of IT firms, a lot of IT service providers who, on the surface of it, do more or less exactly the same thing. But it's how they go to market is how they can be distinct and differentiated. So we work with our clients on how they take a distinct approach, how they talk differently, how they look differently, and how they approach the market differently to all their competitors to engage the customers they want to engage in the right way. So we then get into the realms of that distinctiveness debate. We then look at positioning. So how do you match up against your competitors? But then we also challenge our clients around the alternative choices that customers have. So customers, it's not always a clear-cut choice between you and your competitor. A customer will have multiple different routes that they can go down, multiple different choices they can make. So why would they choose to go with a competitor? Why would they choose to do nothing? Why would they choose to muddle through with the systems or solutions they've already got in place? Why would they choose to bring in someone completely different from a completely different industry to help them deal with what they want? So in terms of looking at competition, you're not just competing with the other organizations, you're competing with the other choices that a customer has. And then in that realm of the players, depending on the organization, depending on the market, you also need to factor in partner relationships, you need to factor in influencers, if you've got sort of an advisor and analyst community, or for instance, in sort of financial services and legal, there's a lot of regulation, a lot of red tape and government legislation that needs to be navigated around as well. So once you've got a clear idea of the players and you've got a clear idea of the point that you're trying to deliver, you can then move on to looking at what you're going to say, which is your messaging and your messages. And it's really all about what you say to the right people you want to target to get them to do the thing that you want them to do. And that breaks down into really two core areas, which are what do you say on a functional level and what do you say on an emotional level? So what can you do to help them do a thing better? And what can you do or say to help them feel better or feel less bad about the situation that they're in? And I say about feeling better and feeling less bad because for us, and this is where it all ties back to value, and there are really only 3 types of value that you can communicate. You can do this in multiple different ways, but there are really 3 types of value you can communicate. So the first is monetary, and it's important to say this isn't about cost, this is about monetary worth. So just to explain that a bit more. So for instance, if you have 2 competing suppliers who provide lead generation services for B2B businesses, supplier A charges 10k a month, but can deliver 20 leads, 5 of which will convert. Supplier B charges you 25k a month, but can deliver 50 leads, 20 of which will convert. On the surface of it, on cost, you would always go with supplier A because it's a cheaper financial cost, but the worth, the actual value that will provide to your organization in terms of the leads provided that will qualify, you go with supplier B because it's a higher monetary worth that negates the cost that is the expenditure to do the thing. So yeah, so you can sort of communicate how you will either save money for a client, or how you'll help them make more money, and that's how it sort of factors into monetary worth rather than cost. Second area of value is really around time. So time is really the only finite resource we have. Once a minute is gone, we can never get that minute back. So it's how do you add value to maximize the time that a client has. So how do you help them do something quicker, faster, or more often? Or how do you take away that task completely and free up their time to do something else, something that's more valuable to them? And the third area is around perception. So this is perception of self, but also perception by others as well. And this is where I'm talking about more good and less bad. So does what you do allow the client to perceive that they are getting more good things, or does it allow them to perceive that they are getting less bad things? So it's, are you adding a benefit for them that increases or improves their perception? Basically, are you making them look good, or are you making them look less bad? And often less bad can be a much more powerful motivator than more good. It depends on the market, it depends on the individual. But so yeah, it's really around how what you do, the services you provide, the solution you have helps the individual, the person you want to target, perceive themselves better, however that looks. And key to doing that, and key to communicating any of these types of value, is around proof, which is why case studies, testimonials, references are so vital in terms of marketing, and especially B2B marketing. If you've done something and you can prove that you generated an ROI, or you saved someone time, or someone's willing to say that you improved their life for them, you improved their personal circumstances in a beneficial way, that's the most important and crucial element to communicating value. Because I can tell you everything I want. I can tell you that we're amazing, we're brilliant, we can do anything you want. But if you're a CFO for a financial services organization, who would you believe? You're not going to believe me. You're going to believe another CFO from a financial services organization who's provided a testimonial, who's put their name to a case study, who's done a nice video, for instance, that acts as that social proof that the value is there and can be added. So if we tie that all back into the framework, so we've nailed the point, you nail the players, you nail the messages, which is the strategic side of things. You're then able to take all of that information, all of that strategy that you've built, and execute that through the relevant method. And the key thing to remember, we think, with methods is that sometimes the unsexy things are the best. So in B2B marketing circles and marketing circles in general, there's often an attitude of the newest, shiniest thing is the best. So there's always lots of new tech platforms coming out. There's always lots of channels coming to the fore that they're encouraging people to use and do magnificent things with, TikTok, for example. But if the customer you want to target doesn't care about those channels, doesn't use those channels, isn't active on those channels, there's no point even considering them. And for instance, like we as a startup would think that you'd be doing like fantastical whizzy digital things and making use of social and all that kind of stuff. The best performing channel for us in terms of generating new business for us as an agency is handwritten letters. So I take time every couple of weeks, I seek out some potential clients, do a bit of research on them, and then I write them a letter. I write them a handwritten letter, stick it in the post to them, put my contact details on the bottom, and that is by far and away the best performing channel in terms of ROI and the new clients we're bringing in for us as a business. So that's really it. That's the framework. That's how we go about building things. That's how we go about doing stuff. Feel free to stay in touch, but also don't feel like you have to. So that's my email there. Website is sharperb2b.com. We have a LinkedIn profile. We have an Instagram account. And we have an Instagram account because Instagram is the most used B2B channel in the Middle East. And we're looking at expansion across there. So we're not just doing it because it's shiny and sexy and whizzy. We're doing it because there's a logical B2B reason behind it. So yeah, feel free to connect. Feel free to drop me an email. And I guess we now move on to questions, Kim.
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Russ. Oh, sorry, I haven't spoken for a moment. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's really insightful, and also it pulls together everything that we've done over the previous week. So hopefully that's put it into some context for those who are watching. If anyone's got any questions, please put them into a chat, or if you want to come off mute, please do. One of the first questions I wanted to ask you was, when customers first come to you, how often is the problem that they perceive, the actual problem that you end up solving?
Not very often is the honest answer to that question. So a lot of the time, the initial conversation we have with clients is around a hole that they've got in their pipeline, and that's been exacerbated by COVID and by the whole lockdown. So in B2B, a lot of lead generation was done at physical events, so sort of conferences, expos, and obviously those haven't been able to happen. So a lot of businesses haven't got the volume of leads in the business that they would have expected. But the question we always start with is, well, is that volume of leads you were working at before the right metric to be measuring marketing success by? Because would you rather go to an event and generate 100 leads that then go sit in a CRM for 6 months and then get cleared out and nothing ever happens to them? Or would you rather invest that money in sort of a more logical approach to marketing that makes use of multiple channels, delivers fewer number of leads, but they're of a higher quality that then convert? Mm-hmm. And that's where you kind of see a light bulb moment with a lot of clients who go, oh yeah, okay, let's work out how we do that. Which is why we underpin everything with kind of the foundational stuff around the point and the metrics, and to understand what good looks like for the business in terms of the measures of success for marketing. So yeah, people will often come with a high level challenge that they think is the challenge, but it's often there's a lot of root causes underneath things that need to be dealt with first.
Fantastic. And over to those who are watching, has anyone got any questions for us? None so far. I'm sure they will do pitch in the last. They've been quite a few the last two, and then it come in.
Well, that either means I explained everything perfectly, or nobody was listening. So
well, they stayed up from the beginning, so I'm sure they wouldn't have stayed if they weren't interested. So no, thank you so much for your time, Russ. I'm gonna get one more call out for questions, and then we'll let you get on with your day. But I really do want to say thank you for coming along. And it was explained incredibly clearly from my perspective, and I hope everyone else. Oh, here we go. Lucy Buchanan, are you allowed to give us some examples of some businesses you've worked with recently?
Yes, I can. So just trying to remember what's under NDA and what's not. So yeah, we've run some campaigns for SCC, Specialist Computer Centre, and NetApp. So they may be names that won't mean a lot to you guys, but NetApp are one of the largest enterprise storage vendors globally. SCC are one of their key partners in the UK. So we sort of working with large organizations like that, but also helping smaller organizations. So we've got a small business consultancy who focus on higher education and professional membership that we're helping them with lead generation. We've got a small ed tech, so education tech startup. Some of you may have even heard of it actually, SWAT Up. So we've been working with their CEO on sort of their market positioning and messaging. And yeah, we have got some. So one of the key goals I had with Sharper when I founded it was to work with a client who my mum knew the name of, and I didn't have to explain who they were. And we've actually done that now. We've kind of got we've got the business arm of a well-known consumer electronics brand that we're running. So it's all under NDA. It's not launched yet, so I can't say. But yeah, so I kind of ticked that off. It's a name that my mum knows. I didn't have to explain who they were. So yeah, it's really it's a broad range of sort of large and small organisations right now.
Fantastic. I've got a question in terms of agency versus in-house, because you were in-house previously and now you've moved across to agency land. What are some of the biggest differences you've seen between the two?
It's funny you say this. I actually had to put a slide in a presentation together for a client the other day that was our unbiased view on the agency versus in-house conundrum. But I think the reason that Sharper was set up was to tackle the three biggest challenges that I always felt when I was client side. So our mission, Sharper's mission, is to make B2B marketing as a whole more creative, more valued, and more commercially successful. So that's really tied to the. So the creative thing is a lot of B2B marketing is dull, and that's kind of where the buzzword bingo stuff comes from as well. Everyone has a blue logo, everyone has grey imagery, everyone talks about hyper converge, ultra utilized solutions and all this kind of stuff, and it's not how people talk, and it's not attention grabbing in any way. So like some of the stuff we've done for clients, like we've built an online game that was targeted at CTOs, getting them to play this online game. We're running competitions around the Six Nations. We're actually looking at doing a Supreme style clothing brand, but specifically aimed at the work from home audience. So like,
God, that's amazing.
So like tech branded stuff,
yeah,
but we're going to do limited drops that drop every week, and people can go on and buy work from home gear. That's and we're going to do a seasonal one around Christmas, ho home working, and stuff like that. But like it's about taking that creative approach, and taking that creative approach is often not done in the client side businesses, because you sort of decisions made by committee, and it's always the middle road that gets chosen, and that leads to marketing departments being undervalued or just being seen as the colouring in department.
I hate that word. Yeah, I've been in house and been cool.
Yeah, so we're sort of rallying against the colouring in department, but some of that is because marketers or marketing functions don't understand the commercial responsibility they have to their business, which is why we underpin everything with ROIs and measures of success. So we can point to market activity and say, look, this is exactly what it's delivered and how that aligns to what you as a business need to achieve. So yeah, it's really those three things are kind of the core differences between, or the core pains that I felt client side, and the things that we are solving as an agency.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got Marlene who's asked, do you always go through these steps and strategy with companies, and how is it executed internally by you or in constant partnership with the company?
It varies client to client, because sometimes clients will have a more developed view of the point and the metrics that sit behind it and things like that. So you can find that some of the foundational work has been built, and it's really from our side just stress testing or tuning up what is already there. In other cases, the client has nothing and we're building everything from scratch. But what we do is a lot of workshop sessions. So we do Zoom meetings like this. But what we do, we have sort of open discussions around those things that I addressed in the point, and the customers, one of the things, we record those. We don't take notes in those sessions, so everyone is actively engaged in the conversation. We send those recordings off for transcription. We get the transcripts back. We pore through those to pick out the key things, and then just go from there and sort of use that as an iterative process to get to a point where we deliver something the customer feels is right and are happy with. So we've done that for one client, and it took maybe 4 or 5 hours end to end from sort of first call to delivering what they needed. For other clients, we've done that and it's taken sort of 18, 24 hours total time of calls and going through things and getting everything sorted. So I think the important thing to remember is the framework is a framework. It's not a hard and fast guide of you have to do things exactly like this. It's a framework that we use to hang everything off.
Great, thank you. Samira has asked, do you have any tips or strategies for converting demand into lead generation?
So I guess if there's one overarching thing is I guess the best thing is to not think of them as separate things, to not think of demand gen and lead gen as separate things, but rather as interconnected things that are all part of the same process. So the conversation that we have with clients a lot is they're very focused on lead gen, but if you just do lead gen into a cold market where nobody knows who you are, nobody knows what you do, you will find that very, very tricky. Whereas if you start off with a demand gen approach first, you build awareness of the brand, you build consideration for the brand, and you can then transfer that into much more valuable lead generation activity. So you absolutely can just go in hard and fast with lead gen, but it costs a lot of money to get the results you want and is a very quick burn. So you'll sort of blast through stuff very quickly. Whereas if you take a longer term approach to build the brand effectively and to nurture relationships and nurture conversations, that then leads to much more valuable lead generation activity down the line. I don't know if that was too political a question, but hopefully political an answer, but hopefully that's answered it.
I will wait for Samira to respond. I think that, I mean, that was a really good point, actually. There's an important bit about that long term. It's the long and the short of it, isn't it? There is the importance of that long term brand building as well as the short term activation.
Yes,
so absolutely right.
Binet and Field, the long and short of it.
Yeah. Lucy's asked, what is the most effective strategy for your company to generate these businesses? As in, what is your most effective way of getting business to use your company? Okay, so this is your own business generation rather than for clients.
Yeah, for sure. So the most effective, the easiest to convert, and the most fruitful is always referrals. So it's always someone saying, "Oh, you should work with these guys," and that skips so many steps in the sales process because you're immediately considered as a viable option. So we work a lot with the clients we already have to build that referrals process and make sure that we're being recommended and talked about in the right circles. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same for any business. Like you guys would be, if your friend came to you and said, "Oh, I've just brought this great thing from this company, you should check them out," you're far more inclined to go and check out that company and ultimately buy from them than you would be if you saw an Instagram post or something from that same brand.
Lucy, does that answer your question? Excellent. So is there any other questions before we wrap up? There's some really good questions there, actually. So thank you so much, Russ. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for attending. Okay. Yeah. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.